everybody. Tiffany Lesnick with Live Free Legal. If you've ever felt trapped in a never ending cycle of hostile emails, manipulative text, or financial chaos with your ex, you are not alone. For so many women I coach, the hardest part of co parenting with an abuser is staying safe, organized, and court ready without being dragged into constant conflict. Today, we're talking about how to outsmart a narcissist in custody battles using our family wizard. And that's why I'm excited to welcome Danielle Kestnbaum, an attorney and social worker who serves as a professional liaison with our family wizard, a tool that can transform how you manage custody, communication, and finances in high conflict cases. We're going to break this series down into two parts. And today we'll explore exactly how our family wizard helps you outsmart a narcissist in your communications, protect your evidence, and stay in control of your case. So, welcome, Danielle. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So today we're going to talk in part one about custody and communication benefits of our family wizard. I want to start with the custody side of things because for most survivors, that's where pressure is the highest. Danielle, if you could tell us, for someone new to our family wizard, what is it and why was it originally created?
So, our Family Wizard is a co parenting platform. It's available on the internet or on your mobile device. I mean, it runs through the internet, but the point being that at this point, pretty much everyone is using it on their mobile device on an app. It did actually start more than 20 years ago. So, it started out as a CD-ROM. And the program was developed in order to try to minimize conflict between families by making everything available in one spot and making everything transparent so everything can be on the record. It has, of course, evolved a lot over time in the last 22 plus years. So not only have we added additional features, but we've updated those features. And so a lot of the features within our Family Wizards app really look and feel a lot like other apps that you're probably already using today, which makes it simple for parents to transition to sole communication via our Family Wizard. And it's a way for them to document all communication between one another, to track expenses, to keep important documents all in one place related to the children or related to their well-being, to keep a calendar and keep track of where the child is when, what kind of events they have going on. And even more than that, it can really do a lot.
Right. So, what makes our family wizard different than other parenting or communication apps that are out there on the market right now?
Well, I would say a few things. So, for one, if we're going to go, I don't want to say old school because there's still electronic communications, but things like texting, WhatsApp, other things like that, Google Calendar, ways that co-parents can communicate and share information about appointments and things like that, were not designed for a co-parenting situation and do not have the kind of support available for the co-parents when problems come up. But then even if you look at, there are a couple other co-parenting apps that were designed specifically for co-parents in these types of situations. They don't have the longevity of our family wizards. We've been around a really long time and have been able to learn over the years from family law professionals what would make our app best to reinvest the money that we take in to make our product even better. And so we have some things that other products don't have. For example, we never delete the messages. Some of the others do. So what that means is that no one can come back and say that a message didn't happen. They can't delete their accounts like they can on some, which is, especially in these types of situations you're talking about, that is a classic way for someone to gaslight someone. They send a message on one of the other co-parenting apps where they can then delete their account. The other parent deletes the account and now it's gone. And it's all fine and well to say we're going to make an agreement or an order that we can't delete our accounts, but once someone does it, it's done. Also, some of the other co-parenting apps reserve the right to sell the parents' data. They don't all offer professional access. So the ability for a professional to really connect, whether it's your attorney or a parenting coordinator, guardian ad litem, depending on the jurisdiction you're living in. Everyone has sort of different layout of what that might look like, but they don't all offer that. And really the user interface, we've invested so much to make it user friendly. So we really just have the most robust tool set that's available out there.
Right. And I personally love our Family Wizard as an attorney. I tell all of my clients of all the parenting apps out there, that is the one that I make them use. Because I think as an attorney, it's the easiest one for me to use. One, it gives me the ability to access their account directly. So I can go into our Family Wizard and I can look at all their communications that they have with their ex, their spouse, their co parent. I can also search by words, right? If he's calling her a derogatory name, I love the feature where I can look specifically for that name and then I can pull every single email or communication that has that name and I can use that in evidence to say on this day and this day and this day and this day, he's calling you these things. So it really sets up evidence beautifully. And another feature that I really love about it is that you can print out the emails in order. If you're just using Google, everything's in inverse order and then it duplicates. So if you want to print out just a few email messages, you end up with like 20 pages of duplicated messages. It just gets really messy and very expensive, right? If your attorney is having to like sift through all of these emails that are out of order and there's duplicates, it gets expensive for you. The other thing that I really love is instant access. Some of the other apps like Talking Parents, I have to wait for my client to actually go into Talking Parents and download their communications and then send them to me.
Right, because Talking
Before,
Parents doesn't have professional access, and even AppClose does have professional access, but it does not work in the same way as our Family Wizards does, in that in our Family Wizard, once you've granted a professional access, they can use it as they see fit. I mean, they go and they generate the reports. They don't need to ask permission each and every time because they've already gotten permission to
right.
be involved in that account. So it really does streamline things, which saves the client's money.
Oh,
And even
yes. Hmm.
whether they're represented or not. If they're not represented, they're not going to be using the professional account, obviously, or they might have a mental health professional, but they're not going to be using it for that purpose. They can generate those reports themselves. But if they are being represented, it saves the attorney a lot of time as well, which cuts down on their costs at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think the unique feature is that I can search by a theme or a term and just print out those emails versus like Talking Parents or AppClose. I've got to actually print out like pages and pages and pages because it doesn't allow me to just print out that one email, right? I've got to print out all the pages that contain that one email I want, which gets really confusing for the court because now they're trying to figure out which email on these 3 pages of communications are you referencing or RFW. I just print out that one email, which is beautiful.
Much more precise, and it's like you said, it's easier to give evidence that way. And that's an important tip for folks too who are not able to afford any kind of legal representation or they don't have any. There is the opportunity for litigants who are self-represented to really organize evidence as well in a much better way than they ever could if they were using any other kind of app or just text or email. That becomes really burdensome. I mean, it's hard enough for attorneys to get some of that into evidence, but when someone's representing themselves, this is
Right.
a really helpful tool as well.
Right. No, absolutely. So, in domestic abuse situations, hostile and manipulative communication is common. How does OFW protect parents from harassment or manipulative communications?
Obviously, at the end of the day, we can't fully stop anything. We can't stop human beings from doing the things that they do, but there are tools within it to help to motivate folks to be on so-called better behavior. For one, if it's a court order, you want to have that order or even an agreement, a legal agreement, be as specific as possible in terms of the types of features that you're going to use within our Family Wizard and how they're going to be used. So, for example, you would want to have something indicating that you are going to utilize ToneMeter, which is a feature within our Family Wizard that flags communication that is negative or hostile in that type of way. And we do even have an updated version of it, which I think we'll get into a little bit later if you'd like. But the point being, if you have a provision in your order that requires you to change a message when ToneMeter has been activated or to adopt AI suggestions, that's going to enable folks to hopefully move forward in a better way in terms of the types of communication they receive. The other aspect is that, unfortunately, as I said, sometimes you're really not going to be able to change someone's behavior. However, it's all going to be 100% tracked and it cannot be manipulated, deleted, or anything like that. So if it's necessary, you're able to bring that to the court's attention to show them exactly the nasty communication that is taking place.
Can you describe for us a little bit about how the tone meter works in OFW?
Yeah, so every parent, no matter what subscription they have, has access to ToneMeter. They do have to activate it within their account. And then it works in real time as they're typing. While they're typing a message, it will underline a specific sentence if it is something that would be perceived in a negative way by the other parent. At that time, it does not stop them from sending it. So that's why it can be helpful to have in your agreement or order that the parties will change the message if, the ToneMeter is activated, but it will say that it's negative and hopefully give that parent pause to take a moment and think about writing in a different way. We do now also have ToneMeter AI, which is available to all parents as well. Again, just needs to be activated within their account. With ToneMeter AI, they have added functionality, which is really helpful in teaching folks how to communicate in a better way because it's not an automatic setting. It's not like you turn on ToneMeter AI and all of a sudden all the messages are going to be regenerated for you and sent in a certain way. It will again tell you that these particular sentences you're writing are negative, but then it gives you the option to click on give a suggestion, AI suggestion. So the tool will come up in real time with something that you could write instead. And not only is it going to try to get the communication to be more cordial, but also more concise, which is really helpful for the person on the end of the receiving of those messages too, in terms of getting a more concise, more cordial message. It gives them the opportunity to apply that suggestion. They can ask to regenerate to get a new suggestion. Maybe it doesn't quite sound like something they would say, but they still want the tool's help. So they can do that, or they can choose to go back and edit it themselves. But really giving them tools for thinking about new and better ways to communicate. The hope too there is that the person who is prone to communicating in a hostile way is aware that every message is being tracked and it cannot be altered or deleted. So every message sent to that other parent is something that the court can easily end up seeing. A lot of times we do see that that does change someone's behavior. And at the end of the day, even if they're only doing it because they know they're being watched, it still helps the survivor because they don't have to get as many of those nasty messages.
Right. I don't think we mentioned this at the beginning, but you were a family law attorney before you started working for OFW,
Yes.
right? Okay. What features does OFW have that help track like custody calendars, visitation, exchanges, misparenting time?
Yeah, so in addition to the messaging, there's a calendar. The calendar is set up in terms of whatever the agreement or order is for the core parenting time, the ordinary overnights. It's color coded, helps parties stay really organized, but then they can also put holidays in there and things like that, as well as one-time events or recurring events like a one-time event, a doctor's appointment, recurring events like sports practices. And another thing that's helpful in these types of situations where you have someone who might be acting manipulative is that that is all tracked in terms of when those things are entered. So let's say, for example, that the parents are required to notify the other parent of doctor's appointments, as one example. If the party puts in that Danielle, I'm using my name as an example, has a doctor's appointment at 2 o'clock on Tuesday, and they put that in at 1:30 on Tuesday, it's going to show that they put it in at 1:30 at Tuesday. So they can't go and say, well, I did put it on the calendar. You just chose not to come. Everything is just so highly documented. It even shows when each of the parties last viewed the calendar. So we've got the calendar feature. GPS enabled check-ins. That is something that is probably used a little bit less in certain DV situations because of their concerns about privacy and their location, but there are situations where it can be helpful if there's going to be, a supervised visitation exchange or something, and you want to make sure you can show exactly where you were when you were. And it can also be helpful if the DV is more along the lines of manipulation and verbal. There's not a physical threat. That's another way for you to document, and then they cannot manipulate what the history was, meaning they might be prone to accuse you're always late, you're never coming on time. With a GPS enabled check, you can mark that, and you can even mark it as private and just have it for later to show. But then you have a clear record like, no, actually, I was on time where I was supposed to be every single time. So we just have really a lot of tools that can help. There's expense tracking. There's an info bank, which can be really helpful in these situations too, because again, if you're required, for example, to share report cards and things like that, all of those can be uploaded into the My Files section of our Family Wizard and housed there to keep you organized and also be able to show that I did in fact share the report card.
Does that show which parent and on what day and what time those documents were uploaded?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And
There's
is the other parent able to go in and delete those documents?
the other parent cannot delete it. The parent who put in a file can take that file out, but it will show that they put it in, that they took it out.
It documents every transaction.
Exactly. There are notifications of everything that's done within our family wizard, what again is just a great way to help cut down on someone's propensity to try to manipulate or gaslight, because they know that there's going to be a record of everything that happens there.
Okay. And is that the same for the calendar as well? So if let's say mom puts in a doctor's appointment on the calendar, it will note that mom entered the appointment on this day and this time, and dad would not have the ability to go in and delete that appointment.
Correct. It will show
Okay.
when mom put it in, dad cannot delete it. Mom can delete it until it happens because maybe there's a change. But once the event happens, no one can delete it. So you can't, like, again, make it look like something didn't happen that did, or vice versa. Like, it stays on there once that time period has come to fruition. And then we do also have a calling feature, which can be really helpful in terms of manipulation too, because let's say there's an agreement or an order where the child is meant to speak with the parent who they're not with on Wednesday evenings from 6 o'clock to 6:15. With phones, it's so easy to manipulate and say, like, I called, you didn't answer, or, we had a 15-minute call. What are you talking about? I did exactly what I was supposed to do. And those telecommunication records can be really difficult to come upon with like a subpoena, or just very burdensome. But if they're using the calling feature directly through our Family Wizard, all of that is going to be right there, not only in the call log, which can't be altered or deleted, but they can also generate a report that would show all of the calls. It will show if someone, let's say they're supposed to be having the camera on, they're turning it off. All of that information is right there, and is again just really the theme, like, is that everything is transparent. And that really helps folks who are dealing with more difficult personalities
Yeah.
to know that everything is documented. There's notifications of everything, nothing can be manipulated, it's all in one spot.
Right. Tell us about the new feature with the phone calls or like the FaceTime calls within OFW. The transcript feature is what I'm really getting at.
Yeah, so they're able to record the calls depending which package they have, and they can also get a transcript. They're able to download transcripts, or their attorneys can download them for them. But I also find the recordings really helpful, because then you've got the exact call. You know exactly what was said. That's something that can be really helpful in these types of situations. If you feel like that would be helpful, obviously it's important to get that within your agreement or order indicating that the calls will be recorded. They have 90 days to download those recordings, but then if they have the package that allows for recording, they do also have access to unlimited storage in the info bank. So if they needed to, they could upload those recordings into the cloud on the info bank, or their connected professional can download them as well. For attorneys, it's helpful too. They don't have to ask to get that. You don't
Right.
have to go asking your client, hey, can you download this recording and send it to me? I want to hear it. You just go in and listen to it.
Right. And I don't know what your experiences were as a practicing family law attorney, but I know my experience as a practicing family law attorney, especially in the areas of domestic violence, phone calls are always an issue, right? And it's one way that narcissists can use to just create chaos throughout the week, right? By being late or being too early or insisting they didn't get their call or making the calls last too long. So I think this is an awesome feature that's really going to give control back to women and help protect and insulate children too. They're not being abused by the phone call process and contact or over extenuation of contact with a controlling parent. So I think that's awesome. Do you want to tell us about some of the new AI features that are now available through OFW?
Yeah. So the one that I already talked about is with the messaging feature, so that they can get suggestions for what they might want to write instead and then regenerate those suggestions. The others are still in the works. So we have ones we're working on for right now. One that's already in a beta project they're working on is calendaring. So if you write a message about something related to an event, it will automatically create a calendar event for that. But we are working on multiple AI tools that will be coming out in the coming years in terms of just streamlining things and making it even easier for folks to use.
It's awesome. And I'm sure that's going to happen quickly because AI is developing at a
Oh yeah.
rapid,
So
rapid
quickly.
pace.
So quickly.
I started using it like just a couple months ago and seeing where it is now 2 months from when I started. It's like, holy mackerel, how is this happening?
Yeah.
So, where can folks sign up for our Family Wizard or OFW if they'd like to get started?
They can go in the App Store for Apple, and they can also go on the website. It's really simple at ourfamilywizard.com. Either way, they can sign up. If they choose, they can call our customer support to get signed up, and that's 866-755-9991. That's one of the things that's really helpful about our app that doesn't exist for any other app is that we have 7 days a week customer support in both English and in Spanish, where you could call or email and get answers to your questions about the app. It's not just like for password retrieval and things like that. They can help you if you need to generate a report, you're not exactly sure how that works, or you haven't done it in a while, or you're not sure how to turn your AI on. All of those kinds of things, they're available. They're experts in the app, and they can help you. They can help attorneys as well. So professionals with professional accounts, they can call in and get any help that they might need as well.
Oh, that's awesome. And then tell us the website. What's the name of the URL that they can go to?
Ourfamilywizard.com.
Okay, great. And then you have different packaging plans. Is that right?
Yes.
And then for women who've been financially abused, are there scholarships available for them?
Yes. So we have a fee waiver program. The fee waiver program is available for any parent who's being represented pro bono. If, for example, you're being represented by legal aid or something like that, we are able to give a fee waiver on that basis. We can give a fee waiver on the basis of being deemed indigent by the courts. We can also give a fee waiver on the basis of having received any government assistance in the last 60 days. And then we do also honor in most situations, if, for example, an attorney will represent to us that a client is a DV survivor or is having other issues accessing finances, we are typically able to give waivers on those bases as well.
That's awesome. So appreciative of that. Is there anything else before we close out this segment that you want to tell us about the OFW features that you're excited to share that we haven't already covered?
I just really personally have seen from my work, but also when I practice, how much the tool can really help families. And I'm excited that we're always investing in improving the products. Every year, we're getting enhancements to the product, to the way that it works, to the features that we have. We're investing heavily in AI. We have new AI engineers working for our company, trying to always be responsive to feedback that we get. And I would also say, as one tip or suggestion, and I kind of hit on this before, but the people who see the most success from our Family Wizard are those who have the most clear orders or agreements.
Hmm.
That's
Right.
something that you can Google. If you Google our Family Wizard model order language, for example, you can download a copy online and see what I'm talking about in terms of being specific, like which features are we going to use? How are we going to use them? So everything, all your I's are dotted and all your T's are crossed. That's really going to help you to have the most success moving forward and to get the most out of the app, which is what we, of course, want for you. We want you to be able to feel that this tool has really impacted you and helped you.
Yeah, that's awesome. The communication features that we've talked about today and the calendaring features, even the phone call features, can be game changing in custody battles. But we know in domestic violence cases, control does not stop with communication. It often extends to money. And we are going to talk about that in part 2 of our discussion with Danielle. And that will be next week, Tuesday at 7 p.m. I would urge you to sign in, and we're going to talk about stop financial abuse in its tracks using our family wizard to protect your money. Please like us, subscribe so that you don't miss out on any of this amazing content. Hope you join us next week. And Danielle, thank you so much for your time today. It's been amazing.
Thank you for having me.